The concept of the divine feminine has taken on form and, like an avalanche, is sweeping through that section of humanity that concerns themselves with the mystical life of the earth. Whereas ordinary effort at grasping the creational knowledge given to us in the great work In the Light of Truth, the Grail message lays the meaning of the concept bare, it could easily be understood where the concept originated and what it stands for. To explain the concept, I will resort to a method which has its foundation in the recount a fairy tale to my readers, a fairy tale so new it could have been factual. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The heavens are known to humans as the divine realm. All entities living there are divine beings. Since God himself created the divine, it means that God himself is not divine but something higher, for in truth, God is not divine, but God. The gulf between God and the divine realm is so great that not even the human spirit can begin to conceptualize the distance involved, talk less of the human intellect. Everything outside of God can be pictured as the radiations, or the mantle of God. And between the divine realm and God lies an inconceivably vast ocean of flames without the possibility of taking on forms. Within this flame and at an appreciable distance, a female being took on form and, through her, two basic divine cloaks of two emanations from God, the will of God and the love of God, took on form. These forms, though separate from each other and therefore personal, were united by a delicate wave of form which also became personal in the most delicate beauty of feminine essence. Quite apart from that, surrounding these forms, countless executive beings took on forms. These included, as the foremost, the seven archangels of which Lucifer was one. The female being through which these forms are brought about has her figure transgressing whole worlds so to say, and at her footstool stands the garden of all virtues. In charge of this garden is an executive being in change of purity of womanhood, later to be known in creation as the divine feminine. In the beginning, God created the divine, and later beneath, the creations came into being. This was referred to as the earth in the Genesis creation story. Creation actually started with the first words, "Let there be light," which brought out light to the dark formless void, and then with the traveling of the light radiation that shot out, the creations were formed, first the seven planes of the highest spiritual and then the next seven planes of the spiritual. Hence the inhabitants of the seven higher planes, at the end of the seventh plane, were the ones that came together and said, "Let us create man in our own image." So the human spiritual was created after the likeness of the primordial beings. This comprise of the physical world, the three astral planes and three planes of ether. The imperfection of these creations saddened them, and a voice thundered from above, "Wait for the promised one who will put things right." This was rendered correctly in the Grail legends with the promise of the coming of Parsifal. Unconscious spirit germs in paradise have to leave paradise to the worlds of matter where, as lords in the worlds of matter, they can mature and get back to paradise where they belong forever. The story of these journey and activities are given to us by Jesus in the parable of the prodigal son. One of the archangels, Lucifer, was sent down to help the fledgling human spirits in the world of matter. Instead of helping them in love, he introduced the principle of temptation to condemn to destruction the weak ones. This brought about his being cut off from his origin. His pinions atrophied and fell off and he thereby became the strongest spirit in the worlds of matter. His colleagues in the divine wept hot tears and the tears fell on him but he has become even too insensitive to feel it. Then the divine feminine pleaded to be allowed to help the womanhood on earth since if woman on earth change, mankind will generally change. It was granted, and she was allowed to descend with the King of the Holy Grail. She was to incarnate on earth first to acquaint herself with the world of matter before the time of the sacred mission. It was then she was allowed to raise the chalice for the first time to hand it to Parsifal. So it was that she was incarnated in Egypt at that time when Mary Magdalene was her earthly mother. Hence Mary Magdalene's involvement with the divine feminine was that she was once her mother on earth before she was later incarnated in the tiny island of Magdala where she grew up, together with Mary of Bethany, to become one of the female disciples of Jesus Christ. Hitherto so much has been woven around the personality of Mary Magdalene that does not come near to conforming to the truth. At the same period that the divine feminine lived as a child in Egypt, a child was born to the prince of Iran but was brought up somewhere else. He later founded a kingdom in Sudan where he took the divine feminine into his custody, together with her mother and later Eurycheo, the foster mother of Moses. He walked closely with Moses from his kingdom, Israel. Moses was later to liberate his people of Israel from the bondage of Egypt. It is the activities of the God-man, his efforts to acquaint himself with his creations, and the attempt by the darkness led by Lucifer to smoother his works that was actually depicted in Revelations chapter 12. The first woman to take on form in the vicinity of the proximity of God was the woman, the God-man is the child and Lucifer was the dragon. His activities on earth during the time of Moses was depicted as the birth of the child. He was actually assassinated by the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II, and the divine feminine left with him. It took a time 2 times and half a time for him to come back to earth, 3,500 years from the time of Moses to this time to bring his knowledge of creation and, of the world judgment. He still came with the divine feminine. Soon the cycles will close. The Star of Bethlehem will appear in the sky, and with it a universal earthquake that will expose the pyramid where the God-man and divine feminine were previously buried. Manuscripts buried with it will tell of that time. The time will also expose the tomb of Jesus Christ, where the disciples Nicodemus and John reburied him with manuscripts showing who he is. Then the pillar of foundation of the Christian teachings will be shattered, paving way for the truth to be spread all over the world amidst tribulations. This presentation contains images that were used under a Creative Commons license. Click here to see the full list of images and attributions. https://link.attribute.to/cc/9999196. My name is Uche Mba. If you enjoyed this video, kindly like and subscribe. You can also hit the bell button so I can notify you of videos of this nature in future when available. Leave your opinion or questions in the comment question and it will be attended to. Thank you.